Remember to show your appreciation for the video, share your reflections in the comments, and join our community by subscribing to keep up with our latest tales. Once upon a time, on a tranquil Thursday afternoon, the world felt as if it had paused, allowing moments to stretch and linger like a gentle breeze. As I completed the final fold of laundry, the delightful aroma of lavender lingered on my fingertips. I then sank into the embrace of the couch, cradling a cup of lukewarm coffee, ready to savor a moment of tranquility. In that fleeting moment, I had envisioned a sanctuary of tranquility, a haven where the world would fade away. As the familiar theme song filled the air, a rerun of Murder, She Wrote unfolded before my eyes, a delightful indulgence that brought a smile to my face. And then, in a sudden twist of fate, the TV screen dimmed, swallowed by darkness with a flicker and a pop. In the beginning, I believed it to be nothing more than a wayward cable or perhaps the result of a sudden jolt of electricity. With a sense of determination, I took the remote in hand, my fingers dancing over each button as if seeking a hidden magic. I even ventured to unplug and replug every device, hoping to summon forth a spark of life, yet alas, my efforts were met with silence. Only silence remains, a stillness that envelopes everything. And then there was silence. Once upon a time, in a world filled with gadgets and gizmos, there lived a person who never quite embraced the realm of technology. Once upon a time, in a world filled with digital wonders, I discovered the secret to unlocking the treasure trove of Netflix. I became a skilled navigator of the online grocery aisles, deftly selecting my favorite provisions. Yet, when faced with challenges that danced beyond these familiar realms, I found myself at a crossroads, pondering the mysteries that lay ahead. It seems we find ourselves at the edge of familiar shores, where the waters grow deep and uncharted. A place that stirs the heart with both trepidation and excitement. In that moment, Henry came to mind. Once upon a time, in a quiet neighborhood, there lived a man named Henry. He had taken up residence next door, a little over 2 years past the sorrowful day when he lost his beloved wife. In a small town, there lived a quiet man, gracefully stepping into his 60s. He was known for his politeness, and his gentle smile seemed to light up even the dullest of days. He was a man of few words, often lost in his own world, yet our brief exchanges over the fence and the shared moments of lending a hand with yard work had woven a thread of familiarity between us. It was this thread that gave me the courage to seek his assistance with a favor. As I donned my cardigan, I gently tucked a few rebellious strands of hair behind my ears. With my cup still cradled in my hand, I made my way over, a hint of embarrassment fluttering within me for seeking assistance with something so seemingly simple. In a curious twist of fate, his abode bore an uncanny resemblance to my own. In a quaint little abode, modest and well-kept, there lay a garden out front, a vibrant tapestry of life adorned with delicate blue flowers, their names forever slipping from my memory like whispers in the wind. With a gentle tap, I rapped upon the door, the sound barely echoing in the stillness of the air. In the stillness of the moment, I caught the faint sound of footsteps approaching, deliberate and measured, until at last, the door let out a soft creak as it swung open. "Greetings, Henry," I said, a smile lighting up my face. "Forgive my intrusion, but it seems I may have encountered a bit of trouble with my television. I find myself in need of your expertise and was hoping you could lend your eyes to the matter." He blinked a few times, as if the world had momentarily paused, and in that fleeting moment of surprise, his expression began to melt into something gentler. With a nod and a glimmer in his eye, he responded, "Of course. Allow me a moment to fetch my shoes." In the cozy confines of my home, he found himself in the living room, gazing intently at the chaotic web of cables that lay hidden behind the TV. I lingered close by, making a conscious effort to give him space, though the urge to hover was strong. With a hearty laugh, he remarked, "It seems like you've got half of Best Buy connected back here." A hearty laugh escaped my lips, perhaps a touch louder than the moment called for. Indeed, that resonates well with what one might expect. Before my son embarked on his new journey, he meticulously set it all up, leaving me with a sense of trepidation that has kept my hands at bay. He knelt low, his fingers dancing over a collection of objects, and in mere moments, the screen flickered back to existence. The comforting strains of my show's music enveloped the room, and a sigh of relief escaped my lips. And so it was, he declared, as he brushed his hands against the fabric of his jeans. Ah, it was merely a loose connection of the mighty HEMI, a whisper of power waiting to be awakened. Once upon a time, there existed a figure known simply as HT. What is this curious thing that has caught your attention? With a gentle curve of his lips, he smiled. Let it be forgotten. As a gesture of gratitude, I extended a warm invitation for coffee, and to my astonishment, he graciously accepted. In the sunroom, where the light danced through the windows, we found ourselves seated, a space I tended to with care, though it seldom welcomed the warmth of company. As the day began to wane, the golden light of the late afternoon poured through the glass panels, creating a dance of warmth upon the wooden floor. With a hint of vulnerability, I admitted, as I offered him a mug, I never stepped foot in here. It seems as though this room was crafted for the stories of another, echoing with the whispers of a life not lived here. With each deliberate sip, he gazed thoughtfully into the expanse of the backyard. In a serene embrace, tranquility envelopes the surroundings, creating a sense of calm and harmony. We engaged in a conversation that meandered through the realms of the mundane and the profound, touching upon both the trivial and the significant. It came to my attention that he once stood before a classroom, guiding eager minds in the art of craftsmanship during high school shop class. He shared with me the profound silence that had settled over the house since his beloved wife had departed, and how he had taken to wood carving as a way to occupy the long, empty hours. In the quiet moments, I found solace in the act of listening, allowing the world to unfold around me while my words remained unspoken. As the shadows stretched and danced, a subtle change stirred in the air between us. In a moment suspended in time, there lay a profound stillness. Not clumsy, but gentle. It was a silence that wrapped around you like a warm blanket, a stillness so profound that it needed no words to fill its vastness. He cast his gaze upon me then, not with the blatant intensity one might expect, but with a soft, tender attention that stirred something within me. Witnessed. It had been ages since anyone had gazed upon me with such intensity. With keen eyes, they truly observed. Neither as a mother, nor as a neighbor, nor as a widow. It was just me, standing alone in the vast expanse of the world. With a gentle clearing of my throat, I rose to my feet, shattering the stillness of the moment. Ah, it seems the time has come for me to allow you to return to the warmth of your evening. Once more, I extend my heartfelt gratitude to you, dear Henry. In the quiet moments of my life, it was the magic of my shows that kept me from losing my mind. He rose as well, pausing for a moment, a flicker of contemplation crossing his face before he finally nodded. At any moment, he declared. In the depths of your mind, you hold the knowledge of my whereabouts. As I gently shut the door behind him, I found myself leaning against it for a fleeting moment, my heart beating a quiet rhythm of excitement. Once upon a time, in a quiet neighborhood, a kind neighbor lent a hand with a television, or so it seemed. And yet, a certain unease lingered, suggesting that all was not as straightforward as it seemed. As the days unfolded, they drifted by in a quiet manner, yet an unusual flutter lingered in my chest, refusing to be ignored. As I strolled by the sunroom or meandered through the flickering images on the television, my thoughts inevitably drifted to Henry, like a whisper carried on the breeze. Not in a whimsical, choreographed manner, but rather like a cherished tune that danced just beyond my memory's reach. Gentle as a whisper. In the stillness of the moment, a sense of something profound hangs in the air, as if time itself has chosen to pause, allowing the essence of the experience to seep into the very fabric of existence. Little did I know he would return once more. Once upon a time, there was a simple act of kindness, a gesture between neighbors that would forever linger in the air like a sweet memory. On that serene Sunday morning, as I ventured outside to care for my beloved roses, I stumbled upon him. There he was, kneeling in his garden, a trowel gripped firmly in his hand, his baseball cap slightly oversized for his head, and a soft melody escaping his lips, barely audible yet filled with a certain charm. In that moment, I found myself pausing, caught in a web of uncertainty. He appeared serene, as if enveloped in a tranquil realm of his own making. Yet, in that moment, he lifted his gaze and our eyes met. With a warm smile, he greeted the morning. As the sun began to rise, casting a warm glow across the horizon, the world stirred awake, welcoming the dawn of a new day. I repeated softly, my hands gliding over the fabric of my jeans. As the days grow warmer, the tulips begin to emerge, their vibrant colors unfurling gracefully, painting the landscape with beauty and promise. With a fleeting look, he cast his gaze in their direction. Yours always takes the lead. It must surely be your enchanting touch. A chuckle escaped my lips, even as a gentle warmth crept into my cheeks. Ah, the whimsical dance of fate, where even the most novice among us may stumble upon fortune's embrace. Each spring, I find myself turning to Google, seeking the wisdom on how to prune once more. With a determined resolve, he rose to his feet, brushing away the remnants of his labor from his hands. Gather round, for I have a thought to share. Last night, I found myself in the midst of a culinary adventure, crafting a pot of stew that overflowed with flavors and aromas. Alas, I ended up with more than I had anticipated. Would you care to join me in a quest to banish the remnants of our feast? It would be a shame to let it slip away. In that moment, I found myself standing at a crossroads, uncertainty swirling around me like a thick fog. It wasn't that I lacked the desire. In all honesty, it had been ages since I welcomed anyone to my kitchen table, yet there was an undeniable weight to his offer, a sense of significance that seemed to transcend the ordinary. With a gentle inclination of my head, I acknowledged the moment. Ah, what a delightful notion that is! As the sun began to dip below the horizon, I found myself nestled in his cozy kitchen, a bowl of fragrant homemade beef stew warming my hands and filling the air with its savory aroma. In that snug little space, one could feel the warmth of life woven into every corner. On the windowsill, a pair of burr houses rested quietly, while above, a small hutch proudly displayed the smiling faces of his children and grandchildren in cherished photographs. As we gathered around the table for lunch, our words began to weave a tapestry of thoughts, delving into the depths of our minds and hearts. He shared the tale of his beloved wife, Janet, recounting their serendipitous meeting in the halls of college. He spoke of the sweet aroma that filled their home every Sunday, as she lovingly crafted her famous peach cobbler. But then, with a heavy heart, he revealed how swiftly cancer had claimed her, leaving behind a bittersweet memory. In the tapestry of my life, I wove stories of my late husband, threads of laughter intertwined with moments of frustration and the delicate dance of compromise that defined our years together. In the stillness of the house he once called home, a profound silence lingered, weaving itself into the very fabric of the walls, as if the echoes of memories had found their resting place within. In that fleeting instant, our eyes met, and the world around us faded away. In silence, there lay a mystery, an enigma without a single word to unravel it. Only the essence of comprehension. In a world where tempests raged and trials tested the very fabric of their beings, there stood two souls, resilient and unwavering. They faced the winds of adversity with courage, continually showing up, and striving against the odds, their spirits unbroken and their hearts steadfast. Have you ever found yourself in a moment of stillness, as if time itself has paused, waiting for something just beyond the horizon? With a whisper that barely broke the silence, I found myself asking him, uncertain of the reason those words had slipped from my lips. With a gentle clink, Henry placed his spoon aside, tilting his head ever so slightly as if pondering a great mystery. In days gone by, I found myself immersed in the experience. In that moment of clarity, it dawned on me that perhaps it wasn't merely a thing I was anticipating, but rather a person who held the key to my longing. With a deep breath, I felt the weight of the moment settle in my throat. In his voice, there lay no hint of suggestion, no trace of forwardness or pressure, only a simple truth, delivered with a gentle touch. And in a curious twist that only served to make it all the more disarming. Once I had finished clearing the dishes, I found myself pausing by the door, savoring the moment just a bit longer than was truly needed. With a heartfelt smile, I expressed my gratitude, not only for the warm stew that filled my belly but also for the delightful company that warmed my soul. Once more, he bestowed upon me that gentle smile, the kind that felt effortless and sincere. In this place, you will always find a warm embrace, a door that stands open just for you. As I nodded, a peculiar ache stirred deep beneath my ribs, whispering secrets of unease. It wasn't quite sadness, not in the way one might expect. In the shadows of our hearts, there lies a whisper, a flicker of something profound, a glimmer that dances on the edge of despair, something akin to hope. As I strolled back to my humble abode, I couldn't help but observe the gentle whisper of the wind as it danced through the trees, and the way the afternoon sun had surrendered to a warm, golden hue that always captured my heart. In that moment, there was no grand orchestration, no dazzling displays, no sweeping motions to mark the occasion, only a subtle whisper in the air, a quiet acknowledgement that something had indeed changed between us. Once, in a world not so far away, there existed a thing, small in stature yet undeniably true. As the night wrapped its cool embrace around me, I nestled beneath my blanket, the soft glow of the TV casting shadows in the dim room. The show played on, but my mind wandered far beyond its flickering images. In the gentle embrace of memory, I found myself once more in that cozy kitchen, the warmth wrapping around me like a familiar blanket, and there beside me was the man from next door, his presence as comforting as the glow of the hearth. As the days unfolded, a peculiar yet soothing cadence emerged, wrapping around the moments like a warm embrace. Henry and I found ourselves without any formal plans laid out before us. In a time unburdened by the weight of scheduled dinners or the facade of obligations, a sense of freedom lingered in the air. It unfolded as a silent pact between them. On certain enchanting evenings, I would find him perched on his porch, surrounded by his carving tools and cradling a warm mug of tea. I would meander over, feigning a casual stroll as if fate had guided my steps in his direction. There were moments when he would arrive, bearing gifts from his garden, a handful of ripe tomatoes or a slice of a warm creation, perhaps banana bread or cornbread, each bite infused with the essence of time and the warmth of his thoughtful spirit. Though we never spoke of it, an unspoken connection lingered in the air between us, palpable and undeniable. In the moments when he'd gaze upward even before my knuckles met the door, or when I'd catch myself tidying my hair or adjusting my blouse, preparing to step into the world beyond. As the sun dipped below the horizon and the last remnants of daylight faded, a gentle knock echoed through my home, beckoning me to the door. It took me by surprise. As I approached the door, a familiar sense of anticipation washed over me. Henry, ever the patient one, would typically be there, waiting for my arrival. Yet, today, an unusual flutter of nerves danced within me as I turned the handle and stepped inside. In that moment, he stood there, cradling a small wooden box in his hands, as if it held the secrets of the universe within its humble exterior. "I was working on this," he said, his gaze locked onto mine, as if searching for something hidden within. And so it was, a thought crossed my mind, perhaps you would find it to your liking. With a gentle grace, he offered it to me, as if it were a precious treasure deserving of the utmost respect. Once, there lay a piece of cherry wood, polished to perfection, its surface invitingly smooth. Upon its lid, a delicate flower was lovingly etched, a blue bloom reminiscent of those that danced in his garden, whispering tales of beauty and nature. As I traced the intricate design with my fingers, a flutter of excitement danced in my heart. "It's beautiful," I whispered, my voice barely breaking the stillness of the moment. "Oh, Henry," words seemed to escape me in this moment. With a subtle shrug, he revealed a depth in his eyes, brimming with unvoiced thoughts and emotions. Silence speaks volumes, and in that quietude, words are unnecessary. With a gentle gesture, I welcomed him inside. In the heart of the house, a delightful aroma of cinnamon danced through the air, a lingering gift from a candle I had lit not long ago. The lamps, with their gentle illumination, bathed the room in a golden glow, wrapping everything in a tender embrace of warmth and softness. Once more, we found ourselves in the sunroom, a familiar haven, and this time I had the pleasure of presenting 2 glasses of wine, their rich hues catching the light. In the quiet rhythm of the week, I typically abstain from the allure of drink. Yet, on this particular night, an unspoken magic lingered in the air, beckoning for a toast to something unnamed, something that simply deserved to be celebrated. "You possess a remarkable gift," I remarked, gesturing toward the box with admiration. With a soft chuckle, he let the sound escape, a gentle ripple of amusement in the air. "It occupies my hands, allowing my thoughts to wander freely." "What thoughts wander through your mind?" With my gaze averted, I posed the question, my voice barely above a whisper. In that moment, time seemed to stand still. You, he whispered softly. I cast my gaze upward, my heart pounding like a drum in my chest. In that moment, it stood before us, a sight to behold. In that fleeting moment, uncertainty wrapped around me like a shroud, leaving me to ponder what I had truly anticipated. Perhaps I would chuckle and let it slide. Perhaps I would weave a new tale or cloak myself in the guise of ignorance, as if his words had floated past me like whispers in the wind. Yet, I found myself untouched by any of those actions. In that moment, I confessed, my thoughts had wandered to you as well. We lingered in a hush, a stillness that spoke volumes without uttering a single word. The air hung thick with a palpable energy, a weight that was oddly inviting. His gaze met mine, a deep and searching look, reminiscent of that very first day we shared in the sunroom. And in that moment, I held my gaze steady, refusing to turn away. You know, he began, his voice barely above a whisper, when Janet passed away, I truly believed that chapter of my life had come to an end. It was more than the union of two souls, it was the bond, the profound sensation of truly being recognized. With a subtle nod, I grasped the depths of his thoughts, far beyond what he could ever imagine. For years, I wandered through the world, a ghost among the living, I confessed. Even in the midst of a crowd, I felt the weight of my solitude, particularly in those moments. You're not invisible, he whispered gently, his voice a soothing balm in the quiet of the moment. It is not for my ears to hear. And there it was once more, that silent truth that lingered between us. In a world where time often feels like a relentless tide, there exists a moment that unfolds gently, unhurried and unpretentious. It is a truth that stands firm, a reflection of authenticity that resonates deeply within the heart. He let my hand linger in the air, untouched and waiting. He held back, not leaning in. He lingered beside me, enveloped in the silence, where the air was thick with unspoken words and the gravity of the moment hung between us. At last, he rose to take his leave, and as I stepped toward the door, a profound sense of calm washed over me, settling deep within my soul. A sensation that had eluded me for what felt like an eternity. In a realm where dreams intertwine with reality, there lies a whisper of potential, a glimmer of what could be. It dances on the edge of imagination, inviting all to explore the uncharted paths of tomorrow. Before he ventured into the world beyond, he hesitated, casting a glance over his shoulder. How about joining us for a delightful dinner tomorrow evening? It would be wonderful to have your company. He inquired. Once upon a time, a delightful thought crossed my mind, the creation of a warm, sweet peach cobbler. With a gentle curve of my lips, I found myself smiling. That sounds wonderful, I replied. And I spoke those words with the very essence of my being. As I stepped into Henry's abode the following evening, a warm embrace of cinnamon and baked fruit enveloped me, filling the air with a delightful aroma. In that enchanting hour, when the sun dipped low in the sky, the world outside seemed to shimmer as if brushed with liquid gold, casting a warm, honeyed glow over everything it touched. With an apron dusted in flour, he welcomed me, his gentle smile wrapping around me like a warm embrace, a smile that had begun to feel like home. Dinner's almost ready, he announced with a hint of excitement in his voice. Yet, I find myself pondering the wisdom of seeking a second opinion on the cobbler's work. With a chuckle escaping my lips, I crossed the threshold into the room. Ah, the weight of expectation bears down heavily, doesn't it? What if I find myself to be a discerning judge? With a glint of mischief in his eyes, he declared, hesitant to embrace the uncertainty that lay ahead. In a quiet corner of the room, the table awaited its guests, adorned with a humble elegance. 2 plates rested side by side, accompanied by soft cloth napkins, while a delicate vase cradled a handful of tiny blue flowers, freshly picked from his cherished garden. The endeavor lacked the whispers of romance. It murmured softly, with a sense of reverence. As we gathered around the table, the aroma of roasted chicken filled the air, mingling with the crunch of green beans adorned with almonds. Each bite was a warm embrace, a reminder of the love and attention woven into every dish, evoking memories of shared moments and cherished traditions. Words flowed effortlessly between them, reminiscent of long-lost companions who had at last begun to voice the thoughts that once lingered silently in their minds. Once the last bite of dinner had been savored, he unveiled the cobbler, its golden crust bubbling with warmth, crowned with a scoop of vanilla ice cream that began to melt in a delightful cascade. As I sank my teeth into the morsel, I felt the world around me fade away, and I closed my eyes, savoring the moment. "Very well," I declared, feigning a solemn demeanor. Once upon a time, in the realm of desserts, there emerged a peach cobbler so delightful that it transported me back to the year 1994, a time when flavors danced on my palate like a sweet memory. This cobbler, oh, it may very well be the finest I have ever tasted. With a hearty chuckle, Henry's laughter filled the air. And so, I shall embrace that moment as a triumph. Afterward, we found ourselves in the Lagon room, a place where the lights danced softly in the dimness and the gentle strains of an old jazz record floated through the air, wrapping us in its warm embrace. As I settled onto the couch, he took his place beside me, a little nearer than he had been in times past, yet still maintaining a respectful distance. Our words were few and far between. There was no need for us to do so. In that stillness, a gentle warmth enveloped them, a serene tranquility that blossomed when two souls ceased to wear the masks of unfamiliarity. In a moment that felt almost magical, he turned to me, his voice a gentle whisper that danced through the air. "It may seem a bit silly, but there's something about your presence that brings me joy. It seems like a gentle breeze, flowing effortlessly through the air." Indeed. As I gazed upon him, I took in the delicate creases that framed his eyes, the serene manner in which his hands lay in his lap, and the presence of a man whose subtle gestures had woven themselves into the very fabric of my life, transforming it in ways I could scarcely comprehend. "It doesn't sound foolish," I declared with conviction. "There is a sound that resonates. Across the vast expanse, a journey unfolds." In that moment, he extended his hand, not with bravado or flair, but simply, with his palm turned upward, as if posing a silent question between us. With a gentle motion, I intertwined my fingers with his. In the embrace of warmth, a steady presence unfolds, wrapping around like a cherished memory, evoking a sense of familiarity that soothes the soul. We lingered in that moment, time stretching around us like a warm embrace. "Take your time, for there is no urgency and no requirement to label anything." In that moment, I rested my head upon his shoulder, and to my surprise, he released a breath that had been quietly held within him. Beyond the window, life unfolded in a steady rhythm, vehicles glided by, a dog's bark echoed faintly in the distance, and the final calls of birds signaled the approach of night. Yet within those moments, it seemed as though time itself held its breath, allowing just the two of us to exist in that enchanted stillness. As the weeks slipped by, the world around them remained steadfast, refusing to transform in the blink of an eye. In the midst of our separate abodes, where familiar routines danced like shadows, a subtle thread began to weave through the fabric of our days, binding us in a gentle embrace. As the sun began to rise, we gathered for our morning check-ins, the aroma of shared meals wafting through the air. Laughter would occasionally erupt, especially when I found myself bewildered by the mysteries of HDMI cables, a puzzle that still eluded my grasp. In a world where words often danced on the lips of many, there lay a moment untouched by grand declarations or lofty promises. Instead, it was a simple gathering, where the true magic unfolded in the form of gifts, each one a token of thoughtfulness and care. And strangely, that sensation wrapped around me, feeling like it was more than sufficient, more than I could have ever wished for. On a warm afternoon, I found myself nestled in my sunroom, where the wooden box crafted by Henry sat gracefully upon the windowsill, basking in the golden light. Within its confines, I had gathered old letters and photographs, fragments of a life that once seemed distant, yet now felt inexplicably near. As I gazed upon the sunlight dancing upon the lid, it unveiled the intricate grain of the wood, while the delicate flower carving shimmered in the warm glow. In the quiet moments of reflection, I found myself pondering the sheer unpredictability of it all. A broken television, a seemingly trivial mishap, had set off a chain of events, a conversation sparked, a meal shared, and from that simple beginning emerged something quietly extraordinary. Not a tale spun from fantasy, but a genuine connection woven from the threads of reality. And in this chapter of life, the genuine holds far greater value than the flawless.